Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're going to be breaking down that big cameo in The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 4. It was a major moment of redemption, and in case you don't know why it meant so much, then this is the video for you. Throughout it we're going to be breaking it all down and going over who this is, the history that this actor's had with Star Wars, and also why this scene here means more than just him saving Grogu. Now, there's kind of almost been this retcon in real life, and I actually see a lot of people these days saying the prequel trilogy wasn't hated upon when it was first released. I'm guessing this must prove the multiverse exists, because I remember it being completely ripped apart by almost the entire fan base and critics at the time. Although Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman and Liam Neeson all went on to have major careers, there were some casualties that came off the back of the bad reception of the first film. The first was Jake Lloyd, who's been very open about how much playing Anakin destroyed his life, and the second was Ahmed Best, who was behind the role of Jar Jar Binks. Seen as a wacky and over-the-top kids character, the first film relied heavily on him, and a lot of the criticism levied towards the movie focused on how much people said that he ruined scenes. Just Google Jar Jar ruined Star Wars, and you're gonna be hit with hundreds of articles talking about how the character destroyed the franchise and set the prequel trilogy off on the worst foot possible. He was a comedic character that took away from the serious political tone that was laced throughout the movie, and Best's role was minimized in the sequels due to how much backlash there was. Now tragically, if you type the guy's name in on YouTube, one of the first things that comes up is a video about how the actor almost ended his own life. In it, he recounts what happened with him before and after the role, and it's very heartbreaking to watch.
This past summer, I wanted to take my 9-year-old son with me to New York City. I really wanted to take him back to where I grew up. And I wanted to spend a significant amount of time there so he could really get to know the city that I love and the city that I came up in and the city that kind of made me. We stayed in Brooklyn, and I lived in Brooklyn for a lot of years. And there were certain things that I did coming up that would inspire me. And one of those things was to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. I would walk across the bridge and I would see the city and I would see the towers when they were there. And I would look at that and say, oh, human beings did this. And it would make me want to keep going and keep moving. So I wanted to walk across the bridge with my son. Then I got to this point on the bridge that I hadn't seen in a long time. And it was really the reason why I hadn't walked across the bridge in 18 years. It was the spot where I almost ended my life. I grabbed my son and my phone and I took a picture of that moment. The reason why I almost ended my life on the Brooklyn Bridge was because 20 years ago, I played Jar Jar Binks in Star Wars. I faced a media backlash that really made me feel like my life was over.
Now, I know that when most people criticize something on the internet, that they're not actually doing it to attack the people behind it. When you say how crap of a character someone is, you're often not going after the actor directly unless you tag them in it, which is weird. I know myself that sometimes I'll say bad stuff in a review, and it genuinely never crosses my mind that people behind it are actually going to watch it and then take it to heart. However, actors often do, and even if they manage to miss 99.9% of the comments said about them, they'll still be the ones that manage to slip through. Now, it's clear that the negative criticism eventually made its way to Ahmed Best, and this proved to be almost too much for the actor to deal with. Here was an unknown that was given a big break as one of the leads in what was probably the largest movie franchise of all time when you look back at the noughties. He was also taking part in a pioneering motion capture performance, and you can imagine that if it happened to you, then you'd go into it thinking this was the best moment of your life.
I never thought it was a possibility to be in that movie. And I was doing a show called Stomp in New York, and I got lucky. The casting director for Star Wars was in the audience of one of the shows, and she asked me to audition, and I got it. And it was one of those magical things. It was one of those special things that happens that you don't really hear about. Next thing I knew, I was at Industrial Lights and Magic, and George Lucas was directing me for a screen test. I loved the work. And throughout my life, I've always wanted to be one of those actors that disappeared into roles. Jar Jar was that times 100, because I could literally disappear into Jar Jar. I was not there. And that to me was just the height of the art form. The thing that makes Jar Jar special from a lot of the other CGI characters that have happened since, ILM was writing the code for this as I was doing things. So the code that's being used now for CGI, I was a part of creating that. And on set, everybody was like, oh, this is gonna be great. This is amazing. And get ready to be a star and all that. And I believed it, you know? And as a 24-year-old young actor, looking at your career and looking at your future, the best thing to feel is, all right, here we go. This is gonna open the doors to so many different things and so many different opportunities.
Now, seeing the backlash to it, it's probably going to make you plummet lower than you've ever been before, and I don't think it's an over-exaggeration to say that this role ruined Ahmed's life. Ahmed opens up about his depression in the video, and he goes over why all of the backlash he received made him contemplate ending it all. However, he explains that when he went to do it on the bridge, that a gust of wind came when he was standing on a steel girder that could have sent him over the edge. He caught himself, and in that moment he realised that if he was really going to do it, then he would have let it carry him away. He climbed back onto the walkway, back from the edge, and this was done both literally and spiritually. Now, why are we making this depressing video that's dealing with some pretty heavy subject matter? Well, I think it's because Ahmed's a great example of how things can always get better, and that there's always a way back even when it seems like you're at your lowest point. In our breakdown of the episode, I talked about how seeing him made me tear up a bit, and I went beyond just seeing an actor I knew playing a Star Wars character. At this point, I was well aware of what Ahmed had been through, and the fact that the actor had returned to Star Wars and was now in a big moment like this carried such an emotional punch to it. For years, we've all sat and theorized about who could have been the Jedi that saved Grogu, and this has ranged from things like Mace Windu to Yaddle, and even the Inquisitors like Seven Sisters. There were even some theories that Jar Jar saved Grogu, which in the end, I guess he kinda did. Now, I genuinely think that having Best come back tops them all, and it gives him an important moment in the saga that feels like something fans can celebrate instead of just criticizing. I think that most people feel bad for what Ahmed went through, and hearing his story about his mental health struggles really pulls at your heartstrings. However, what he does is that he exemplifies that there is hope even in darkness, and that you can come back from things no matter how bleak they seem. I think hope is also something thematically that's at the heart of all Star Wars projects, and it being carried across this way to an actor cements why Star Wars infiltrated so much of our lives. It's more than just a franchise, it's things we become attached to, and moments like this extend beyond what's on the page and screen. Now, Best had played Caloran Beck before, and he first appeared as him in the Jedi Temple game show. It was a little kids thing that no one really thought would go anywhere, but for his character to be brought up into the saga like this really felt like a home run, not only for the actor, but also for his character. Having him protecting a child and getting this amazing action scene, it does feel like Best can at least have some goodwill over the franchise, and perhaps now he'll look back on it as being the thing that made him, rather than being what destroyed him. I don't want to put words in the guy's mouth, but I think this scene is such an important thing to talk about, as it has so many layers to it. Had things ended on the bridge, then Best never would have had his child, and he never would have seen the 180 that the fans have had over him. I know it's cliche to say, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's important to bear in mind that every person has this weird little thing built into them. What I'm talking about is that we all have this thing where if something's going bad, even if just for a little bit, that we instantly change our mind state and think that that's the new normal. Our perception of these moments can make us think it'll stay that way forever, but it's never the case, and once you're on the other side of it, you look back and realise that your perception was wrong. However, it's difficult to see the fog when you're out in the middle of it, but once you've made it through, it makes all the difference.
20 years later, I'm on the bridge with my son, and I'm looking at the spot. Just looking at it. And I take this picture. I don't know what to do with this picture. I just look at it, you know? I don't know what to do with it. And I was really afraid to share this picture, you know? I was really scared because you put on this armor every day and you make it look like things don't affect you. I can't hide this anymore. This happened to me. Yeah, I felt this way. I took the picture of me and my boy and I put it on Twitter, and all of a sudden it went everywhere. People were calling me and everybody started talking about it, and it was surprising because I never really thought anybody would care. We talk a lot about things going viral, and usually when things go viral, it's something negative. I didn't feel like what I posted went viral. I felt like it went communal, and I felt like it went communal because of the support that I got that I never thought was there. And I'm glad I shared this moment because the response that I got back were from people that shared a similar moment. We're all here. We're all here now. And we made it through the next day because I shared that between me and my son. I can get through 20 more years of next days.
And that ends the video. I know it can be depressing to talk about this stuff, but I think it's also so uplifting to know that no matter what you're going through, that someone's went through something similar and that they came back from it. Everyone has the capability of having a good life after, and I think that's why this scene is so important. We all know what Ahmed Best went through, but this acts very much as a redemption, and just in the same way that Andrew Garfield got to come back as Spider-Man and stuff like that, these returns, they have a deeper layer to them. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's uplifted you a bit. You know, we've been through some emotional things, and if it's touched you on that kind of level, then make sure you leave your thoughts below. They might be really important to someone who's out there reading them, and it could make a world of difference in someone else's life. Out of the way, thank you for sitting through the video. Hopefully I'll see you on another one soon, and yeah, thanks for sitting through this more contemplative look. In the end, I've been Paul, you've been the best, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. You take care, peace.